The first thing you want to do when you install Acoustiblok is make sure that you have sufficient space to roll the material out and cut it into manageable pieces. To do this, you will need a measuring tape, straight edge, and a razor knife. The size of the pieces that you cut is purely dependent on the size of the crew that you're working with. An important thing to remember when making this measurement: leave yourself 1 to 2 inches extra per stud bay on the entire length of the piece. This gives you the extra material needed to leave it loose within the stud bay. When you cut your material, make sure you pay close attention to maintaining a straight cut. This will prove important later when you tape your seams. The next step is to place the Acoustiblok that you've just cut onto the framework or structure of the building. When you do this, the natural tendency of the material will be to sag. Make sure that you keep the top leading edge of the material as level as possible. This again will be very important when you tape your seams later on. There are several ways to attach Acoustiblok material to the framework or structure of a building. In this particular situation, we're using a pneumatic stapler with roofing staples. These particular staples have washers attached to the head of the staple. This is to prevent the head of the staple from going through the surface of the Acoustiblok material. If you're using screws, be sure to use a screw with a large head or a washer attached. If you use nails, again, a large washer to help dissipate the weight of the Acoustiblok material. When you do this, leave a little bit of play from the first stud to the next. Make sure that the top edge of your material is level and straight. This is very important. If you're off an inch here, you could be off 6 or 7 inches at the end of the run. Staple it in the same manner as the first piece. We've peeled away the radiant barrier to show you the wooden furring strip or battens that's attached to the concrete wall underneath. You can use the same technique to secure the material to a wooden furring strip as you would a wood framed wall. You'll continue this technique down the entire length of the wall. Key points to remember: attach your material securely at each stud. Leave your material loose and pliable within each stud bay. Make sure that the top line of your material stays level and straight. After a few runs have been complete, your wall should start to take form. You should have an appearance similar to this, and if it looks like this, you're heading in the right direction. Some small details that you need to remember when you're installing Acoustiblok. Definitely leave a small overlap at all the corners or adjoining seams. You want to make sure that there's not a gap here, because if there is a gap, sound will travel around the gap within your wall and around your Acoustiblok. Always make sure that there is a flexible amount of Acoustiblok between the positions that you secure it. By doing this, you allow the material to move internally within the wall, and you're not compressing it. Your results will be greater. When it comes to joining your seams, you want to make sure that you have an overlap. Right here is the first layer of a room. In the next segment, I'm going to show you exactly how you would overlap this. We're basically going to do another layer, and we're going to come down over this approximately 1 inch to 2 inches, depending on whatever you're comfortable with. Once you have that other layer on top of this, then you'll use our Acoustigrip tape, and you'll tape the whole seam. With that said, this leads us into our next step, our second run. This is an elevated run, so you may want to staple over a few stud bays to dissipate the weight of the material. This will make it easier to maintain a straight line on your material and manage your seams. Again, you'll notice stapling a few stud bays ahead will help in managing the material when working with an elevated run. You'll continue to staple all of your studs the entire length of the wall, just as you did on the lower run. This will prepare you for the next step, which is taping your seams. When taping your seams, it is very important to remember that the tape itself has no acoustical value whatsoever. The purpose of the tape is to pull both the lower layer and the upper layer together to form an airtight membrane. The tape that you see us using has been specifically engineered to stick to our Acoustiblok material. Our tape is called Acoustigrip. The adhesion on the back side of our tape is extremely strong. It is meant to withstand high humidity, moisture, and prevent slippage on the surface of our material. Due to our unique formula of Acoustiblok material, common construction tapes and adhesives will not last over the lifespan of your assembly. This is an important facet of an acoustical barrier within the wall assembly. The accumulation of openings from lack of adhesion could constitute as much as 10 to 12% of a reduction in your perceived STC value. So make sure you have enough Acoustigrip tape on hand and do not substitute it with other construction tapes or adhesives. I'm sure you're noticing the random ripples and folds within the Acoustiblok material. These are the areas that we told you to leave limp or loose from stud bay to stud bay. This is an important aspect of the Acoustiblok barrier system. This helps with the damping of the wall assembly. This adds more density per square foot and in turn lowers the resonance of the wall. Simply stated, this increases the sound blocking capabilities of your wall assembly. On this particular installation, you'll notice we used large pieces. That was due to us having a 4-man crew. If you're using a smaller crew, I would recommend smaller horizontal pieces. You can cut them vertically, seal them in the exact same manner as we've shown you, and you'll achieve the same result. I'd like to show you how you would attach Acoustiblok or terminate Acoustiblok to a different material, say a floor. You always want to make sure that there's enough material when you apply Acoustiblok so you can attach it directly to this other material, like the concrete in this situation. If this was an apartment or something, this might be wood. But what you want to do is grab some of our Acoustigrip tape. You need to use this tape because it's the only material that actually has the additives to allow it to adhere to our material over a course of time and won't be affected by humidity or moisture. Take a piece of tape, apply it to the Acoustiblok, make sure you get a nice wrinkle-free piece, and then attach it all the way onto your other material. Make sure that that's a tight seam and make sure that the tape is not the only thing that's filling the gap. The material has to butt up to your floor. Now we'll just start moving around the room in the same manner as before. When you're dealing with large rooms, scaffolding is something I'd recommend. This will make it a lot easier for your team, and you can support the weight of the material and the roll on the scaffold itself. You can see we're repeating the same thing that we did on the lower portion and the other wall. This is a great example of how our project should look by now. We have successfully installed 2 horizontal runs of Acoustiblok in the lower portions of this room. On the front wall, you'll notice that where our 2 materials meet, we have our center seam. It's taped, it's sealed, and it's complete. On the left wall, we'll repeat the exact same treatment. You'll also notice that there's electrical, audio-video stub-out wires coming through the wall. Anywhere there's a penetration, we will pump Acoustiblok into the penetration to seal it permanently. We will continue this all the way up this main wall. We'll end up being 5 or 6 rows high, which in turn will give us 5 or 6 taped joints. Then we'll continue on to the ceiling. In this situation, we have metal ceiling trusses with wooden furring strips. We'll attach the material in the same manner as we did on the side walls. This is where Acoustiblok's unique. If you have a hole or a penetration that you've had made to pull a harness through, it's no problem. Take a scrap piece of Acoustiblok, lay it over the hole that you had to make, tape it on to our material. You will not compromise the STC of the assembly. Here we'll walk you through how to slice a penetration in Acoustiblok. A typical situation is a J-box or an electrical box that you need to cut out of the Acoustiblok. Make sure that you mark the floor. You can see there's a small yellow dot on the floor. This was done when we were doing the installation. Then you come back and you press the perimeter or the edge of your box. Cut it tight so it's almost a pressure fit around your electrical box. This will help when you tape it off to the box. Take your time with this detail. Be accurate with your razor knife. Push closely to the edge of the box. Cut just inside the edge of the box and then nose the box through the Acoustiblok material. This will give you a great seal and it will not compromise your barrier. Then take our Acoustigrip tape, tape the Acoustiblok to the edge of the J-box. Okay, so now that we've shown you how to make the penetrations through our Acoustiblok material, and while Larry here is sealing up the main seam on our project, I'd like to walk you through some key elements that will make for a successful Acoustiblok installation. Number 1, confirm that the Acoustiblok material is attached securely to all the framework of the project. Double check to make sure that all your connection points can withstand the weight of the material. You don't want the material to tear away from your connection points. Number 2, allow enough play or slack in the Acoustiblok material to give a ripple or a bend between the stud bays, between the ceiling trusses, or the floor joists. This will allow it to hang freely so it can vibrate, dissipate energy, and raise the attenuation of your construction assemblies. Number 3, all the penetrations for electrical, audiovisual, plumbing, any utilities or infrastructure of the home must be sealed with Acousticaulk and Acoustigrip tape. Remember, any hole is accumulative, and if you have 10 to 12% of an opening on a 20-foot span of a wall, this will compromise your STC greatly. So take the time to seal every penetration to the best of your ability. Remember, if this room was a bowl full of water and you had a hole, the water would find its way out. The same thing applies with the sound. So please, double check, triple check, and inspect the installation before the drywall goes up. Thanks for tuning in. If you'd like more information on Acoustiblok, visit us on the web, acoustiblok.com, or call us direct, 813-980-1400. And at Acoustiblok, we don't build the cities, we just make them quieter. We look forward to hearing from you.